The Zelda series is known for many things: its story, its characters, its world, and of course the dungeons. Dungeons are some of the most iconic parts of a Zelda game. They test your own problem-solving skills, introduce new items, and occasionally have you questioning your own intelligence when you've spent 20 minutes overthinking a solution that was right in front of you the entire time. And while some Zelda dungeons are remembered as some of Nintendo's greatest creations, others have become infamous. There is the Water Temple from Ocarina of Time, and the Stone Tower Temple from Majora's Mask, but today I want to talk about one of the very first Zelda dungeons I've ever experienced: Phantom Hourglass's Temple of the Ocean King. Now, if you've never played Phantom Hourglass before, the Temple of the Ocean King isn't just another dungeon. It is the dungeon. Begin a new save, back to the Temple of the Ocean King. Beat a boss, back to the Temple of the Ocean King. Complete a major story objective? Guess what? Back to the Temple of the Ocean King. Most Zelda dungeons follow a pretty simple formula. You enter, solve puzzles, get an item, defeat the boss, and then move on to the next dungeon, never needing to revisit ever again. But Phantom Hourglass decided to do things a little differently. It looked at the dungeon formula and said, what if we kept sending players back to the same dungeon? Throughout the game, you enter the Temple of the Ocean King 6 separate times. Not only that, but you're also on a timer. If you are outside of these safe areas right here, you will lose time, and if the timer ever reaches 0, you'll start losing health instead. Each visit takes you a little deeper into the temple. Each visit unlocks new floors, but each visit also has you replaying parts you've already completed. Now, to be fair, the game does try its best to make this less painful. Like, for example, new items unlock new shortcuts, and through that you also learn faster routes through the temple. And eventually, you'll know some of these floors so well that you could probably navigate them blindfolded. But even then, you're still doing them again, and again, and again. The first trip through the temple is actually pretty enjoyable. The second trip is still fine because you're still seeing new content fairly quickly. The third trip is where things get a little bit repetitive. You've already solved some of these puzzles. You've already explored some of these rooms. You've already opened some of these doors. And by the fourth trip, you've already memorized half the dungeon. What once felt like an adventure slowly starts to turn into a routine. And nowhere is this more obvious than with the Phantoms. The Phantoms are special enemies that patrol the temple. They shrug off all of your attacks and they can take you down in a single hit. They force you to be extremely careful while navigating each floor. The first few encounters with them are genuinely intense, especially when you enter a floor for the first time. You don't know where they're patrolling, you don't know where the safe zones are, you're trying to keep track of your timer while simultaneously avoiding giant armored guards that seem to have a personal vendetta against you. It keeps the tension high and makes every new floor feel dangerous. But eventually, you've already seen these floors, you know exactly how the Phantoms will be patrolling, you already know where the safe zones are, and what was once a tense stealth section becomes, wait here, hide here, stun this Phantom, run over there, wait for him to turn around, okay, now go. The challenge slowly disappears and gets replaced with repetition. And honestly, that's the main and quite frankly the only major flaw I have with this temple. Because outside of that, I think it actually has some great puzzles. Some of them are genuinely clever. Like this one right here. I remember being stuck here for hours. What do you mean stamp the symbol onto the map? I tried touching everything, I checked every corner of the room, I reread the hints, I probably tapped every pixel on my DS screen at least 3 times. Nothing. Eventually, I took a break and left. Then later, when I came back, yep, the solution is literally closing your Nintendo DS. To this day, this is one of the strangest puzzle solutions I've ever seen in a Zelda game. And honestly, it's kind of brilliant. It's the sort of puzzle that could only exist on the Nintendo DS. Now, some people would probably say that this is one of those puzzles you'll never forget once you solved it. A puzzle so unique that it stays with you forever. Well, I forgot it. Completely. When I replayed Phantom Hourglass years later, I got stuck on the exact same puzzle again. And guess how I figured it out? The same way as before. So maybe it wasn't quite as unforgettable as people claim. By the way, if you're enjoying the video, consider subscribing. I'm currently working towards 1,000 subs, and unlike the Temple of the Ocean King, subscribing is something you only need to do once. Anyways, despite getting stuck on that puzzle twice, moments like that is why I have a hard time calling the Temple of the Ocean King a bad dungeon. There are genuinely clever ideas here. There are fun puzzles, there are useful shortcuts, and there's something satisfying about revisiting the temple later with new items and discovering faster ways through the floors that used to take forever. They even start recording your completion times based on the amount of time you have left. Funnily enough, you can actually complete the temple in 0 seconds because of this. The problem is that eventually the novelty wears off. While the puzzles are still good and the shortcuts are still nice to have, you've already experienced them several times. Then, near the end of the game, you obtain the Phantom Sword, and suddenly everything changes. For the entire game, the Phantoms have been these terrifying enemies that force you to sneak around them. Now, you can just walk up to them and defeat them. It's incredibly satisfying. Every Phantom that even looked at me funny was immediately put on the chopping block. And while this makes the final trip through the temple a lot easier, it also removes almost all of the tension. The dungeon that once required careful planning and stealth suddenly became almost risk-free, though I have to admit, there is something incredibly satisfying about casually walking through the hallways that used to terrify you. So, is the Temple of the Ocean King one of Zelda's worst dungeons? No. Honestly, I think it's a pretty good dungeon. The puzzles are fun, the ideas are creative, and there are moments in it that I still remember years later. But the problem is that Nintendo took a dungeon that was good and then asked players to complete it 6 times. That makes even a good dungeon start feeling like a chore. Interestingly enough, Nintendo actually seems to agree with a lot of these criticisms, seeing how Phantom Hourglass's sequel, Spirit Tracks, also has a central dungeon, but with some major changes to its layout. And honestly, I think it was done a lot better there. But that's a video for another day. The Temple of the Ocean King has some major flaws, and that's why nearly 20 years later, it still remains to be one of the most notorious dungeons Nintendo has ever created.